In this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I was able to get my first nursing job as a pending licensed nurse only 2 weeks after graduating from nursing school. And I'm going to show you guys how you can do it too. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel, Nursing with Key, where I make a whole bunch of nursing related videos, sharing tips and tricks that I've learned along my nursing journey to help you guys have the smoothest nursing journey. So as a new grad nurse, you need to understand that you are kind of in a position where you constantly have to prove yourself. Why? Because you have no experience. Now, these employers are getting bombarded with tens and hundreds of resumes every single day, and you are competing with people at different levels. Yes, you are competing with people who are just as unexperienced as you, but you're also competing with people who have 10, 20, maybe 30 even years of experience over you. And it's much easier for an employer to hire those people than you, because they know that the orientation process is gonna go a lot smoother. They're not really gonna have to keep an eye on those people as much. And they just know that overall, hiring a nurse who has 30 years of experience in the field is pretty much gonna be stress-free for them. Whereas hiring a new nurse, we are still learning a lot of things. Obviously, the nursing field is a field where we are always learning, things are always changing, so everybody's always learning. But somebody who has 30 years of experience obviously is a lot more comfortable on the job, has had a lot more practice with skills, and these employers know that they might have to keep an extra eye on you, or maybe not an eye on you, but they might have to help you a little bit more, or the training process might have to be a little bit longer for you. So like I said, it's a lot easier for them to hire these experienced nurses. And that brings me to my first point. Step number 1, get your foot in the door. Get your foot in the door. I remember when I was in nursing school, in most cases or in most places, once you complete your basic nursing skills class and your first aid class, you become certified to work as a CNA. So it gives you kind of the equivalence of a CNA class. And then at that point, you are able to work as a CNA. When we were in nursing school and we completed those 2 courses, I immediately went and started looking for CNA jobs, because I know that there's so much competition in the nursing field. Yes, there are a lot of jobs, but there's also a lot of competition. Everybody and their auntie and their grandma and their great grandma wants to be a nurse nowadays. Everybody is in nursing school, and I just didn't want to get to a point where, you know, I'm done nursing school and now I'm kind of forced to still work as a CNA, and I can't work on my skills and I can't excel in my career for a little bit because it's oversaturated and like there's too much competition. So what did I do? I got myself a CNA job, and I went to school with people. I was in school with people who were in the same class as me, who started before me, whether it's the RN or the LPN program, and they were so prideful. They actually preferred to work in these call centers and these other regular jobs that they had. Not that those are bad things, but they're completely unrelated to the field that we're in. They're completely unrelated to nursing. And I remember asking them, like, hey, like, let's go get a CNA job. Let's work together, you know, and whatever. We're gonna be in an environment, in a learning environment where we can work around nurses and we can learn from them and things like that. And another good thing about working as a CNA while in nursing school is it gives you the chance to prove that you are a good worker. And if you are a good worker as a CNA, your employer would be more inclined to give you a chance as a nurse once you finish. Most times when you work as a CNA in a place and you finish nursing school, you can just transfer up. You can just switch from CNA to nurse, no stress, nice and easy. But like I said, there are some people who finished the program before me, way before me. I know some RNs that finished before me, some LPNs that finished way before me. It has not been long since I finished, and literally 2 weeks after I finished nursing school, after I got that certification from school saying that I completed the program, I started applying for jobs. The same day I got like 4 callbacks. There was one specific place I wanted to work at. She asked me to come in. She called me the Saturday. She asked me to come in the Monday. The Monday I went in for the interview and she wanted me to work Monday night. I said no. I started the following day, but literally having my foot in the door gave me that extra edge over everybody else, because she saw that I had experience that I was around it. Even though I wasn't working as a nurse, she saw that I was around it. And I was also working for a very, very known facility. I still work there. I'm still working for that facility. And the fact that I was working for that facility made her trust me, because they have a very good reputation. And she knows that if you work for that facility, you're probably a good employee, especially if you're, there for over a year. So get your foot in the door. Get your foot in the door. Get yourself that CNA job, even if it's home health aide. Get your foot in the door. Some employers are really nice, and they actually remember what it was like to be in our shoes. They remember what it was like to be a new nurse and how competitive and how hard it was to get employed as a new nurse. And for that, they are actually willing to give you a chance. Even if you apply before finishing nursing school, sometimes they actually give you the interview, which puts you kind of a step ahead from everyone. And that brings me to another point, which is don't wait too long to apply. If you know that you are finishing in a couple weeks, if you know that you're finishing in 2 months, you don't have to wait till you're completely done the program. You can apply in advance. Some employers may give you the interview, and once you go to that interview and you're able to create a connection with the person, because when you send an application to a person, you're just another name sitting in their email. You're just another name out of the 100 names sitting at the bottom of their email. And you don't want to be that, right? Because you can't feel emotion. You can't create a connection by just reading somebody's resume. But when you actually get an interview with a person and you actually go and you ask questions and you show that, there's enthusiasm and that there's interest and that there's actual passion in what you do, that you're warm, that you're friendly, if you are able to show that in the interview, it makes the interviewer like you. It makes the employer like you, and they might actually be willing to wait till you're done nursing school to hire you. They might actually make sure that they have something kind of on standby for you, even if it's not something full-time. Sometimes they tell you, like, come back to us when you're done nursing school, we'll arrange something with you. And even if you can start off with 3 days a week or 2 days a week, that's still cool. That's you getting your foot in the door, right? So just try and apply. Just try. So the next step is to work on your resume. When last have you worked on your resume? I remember, getting towards the end of my nursing program and looking at my resume when it was time for me to apply for jobs. I was looking at my resume and I realized that I had not made a change in my resume for over 2 years. And I had all these jobs that were completely unrelated to the nursing fields. Jobs like Tim Hortons or Dunkin' Donuts in the States, clothing stores, retail, things like that. Things that are completely unrelated to nursing. And things that you do when you're kind of in your young teenage years and you're just starting to work. But what I did was a cleanup. All my clinical rotations, I listed them as experience. Why? Because it is experience. Now I had a lot of clinicals, so I narrowed it down. The ones that I did in the beginning that were kind of just getting our feet wet and, we were still testing things out, which, the whole clinical rotation is about testing things out and learning. But the ones that we did in the beginning, I kind of left out, and I left the more important ones or the more complicated ones where we were using advanced nursing skills in the end. So med surg I kept, mothers and newborns I kept, pediatrics I kept, and I'm sorry about that noise. Pediatrics I kept, rehab I kept, things like that. Specific care, basic care, things like that we did in the very beginning, I left them out. But I made sure that I put five clinicals that I did at the very end, where we were really practicing, where we were really getting into real nursing, and it wasn't really just about getting our feet wet anymore. Also, work on your cover letter. Like I said in the beginning of the video, when you are a new grad, you are competing against a bunch of other people and you need to sell yourself, right? You are selling yourself to this person. You have no experience, nothing, and you are trying to get this person to hire you. So you need to tell them why you are worth being hired, why you would be a good employee, right? I'm probably gonna leave my resume and my cover letter in the community section of of my YouTube channel. If you guys want to go get some inspiration, that's fine. I'm gonna put that there for you guys to see. But work on your cover letter and see and sell yourself, right? If you're not good at writing and stuff like that, I made my resume on resumenow.com. On there, you just punch in all your information. It'll ask you to pick jobs. You pick the jobs that you want to pick. You put the dates that you work there, from when to when. You put your responsibilities. They even suggest some responsibilities, so you can put what your job title was, and it'll give you some responsibilities, some generic answers, some generic things that you can put on your resume that are really well worded. And also, once you're done putting in all your information, it creates, based on the information you give it, it creates a cover letter for you, so that you don't have to go through the stress of creating it or making it yourself. And it gives you, like, I think 10 different options, right, on like what you can pick. So it gathers all the info you give it, and it basically writes a cover letter for you in 10 different ways that you can pick. So definitely do that. Stay away from pinks and blues and all these bright, random, unprofessional colors. Stick to black, professional, crisp colors. The next thing you want to do is be hungry. Do you want this job? Do you want this job? Be hungry. I find that so many people are very lazy when it comes to applying, right? I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. But most of the time, when I want a job, I get the job. That's just it. I have been to some interviews where, I have not gotten the job, but I just ended up getting something better. And why? It's because I am hungry. I'm hungry. That is how I was able to get hired by the second best university in Canada, the best university, the best medical center in my province, with 3 months of CNA experience in a residence. I had no experience in acute care, no experience in emerge, no experience in medicine and surgery or none of that, just geriatric experience. And with 3 months of experience in geriatrics, I was still able to get hired by the best medical center because I was hungry. What do I mean by that? What does she mean? I'm going to tell you guys. Most people go on Indeed and they just click send, add a cover letter or add a resume, and they just send those off. No, that's not going to work for you. You want a job? Pick up the phone, call. Who is in charge, right? That's what I did when I got my job. I applied on Indeed. I applied on Jobilico, right? I looked for videos of the place, because a lot of these facilities, they have videos on YouTube. So I really looked and saw if it was a place that I really saw myself working at. And I was like, wow, this place is really beautiful. This place is like the Ritz-Carlton of places, right? And I'm probably gonna make a video showing you guys where I work eventually. But I really saw myself working there, and I said, you know what? I really want to work there. I was applying on a Saturday. I had work at 3:30, and around 10 a.m. I dedicated my 10 a.m. to my 2:30 to apply for jobs, right? I looked for a bunch of places, and I found this place. I applied on Jobilico, I applied on Indeed, and I think on Nuvo as well. They had it listed on all 3 places. So I applied on for the same job on all 3 websites. And then what did I do? I typed in the name of the place. I called the place. I asked the receptionist, is it possible for me to get the email address of the person who is responsible for HR? She gave me the email address. I sent my CV directly to the email address. Then it wasn't sitting easy with me, so I called back. I'm sorry to bother you again. I know you're probably really busy, but is it possible for you to transfer me over to the person who is responsible for hiring? No problem. I'm going to send you to their cell phone. I had a conversation with the head nurse. It was the head nurse who's responsible for hiring nurses. I spoke to her. We had a nice little conversation, and what it did, in my opinion, like I said in the beginning, it put me at a place where I was more than just a resume sitting in her inbox, because it put a voice, it put a vibe, it put an energy behind my resume, right? So I sent my resume. She had a conversation with me. We were able to laugh. She was able to ask me questions, and that kind of put me ahead. I wasn't just Kiara Francis on an email address anymore. It was somebody that she spoke to. She was able to, ask me a couple things. And so I feel like that put me ahead, right? So she told me she would have a look. I told her, hey, my name is Kiara. I'm a new grad nurse. I'm looking for a job. I'm really interested in working in this place for XYZ reason. And I sent you my resume, but I just wanted to confirm that you received it, right? You're not calling, begging them to hire you. I just called to confirm that you received the email. That shows that you're determined, and it shows that you're serious. But guess what? She told me she received it and that she was gonna have a look and she was gonna call me back. 25 minutes later, she called me back and asked me if I was able to come in for an interview the same day. Unfortunately, I couldn't go the same day or the next day because I was working, but I went to see her the Monday. So this was the Saturday that I applied. I went to see her the Monday, and on the Monday, she wanted me to work Monday night. I got my key, I got my badge. She wanted me to start my orientation Monday night. Unfortunately, I declined. It was too much pressure for me, but I started the next day. So be hungry, call. Don't just be a resume sitting in their email, like in their inbox. You're just like 100 other, like there's 100 other people sitting in their inbox. Why should she choose you over them? So call, put a voice, put an energy, crack some jokes, ask questions, show interest. All these things you can do on the phone. You cannot do that on paper. And the last step is to follow up. It goes along with being hungry. Follow up. We all know that these head nurses, these employers, they are extremely bombarded with work sometimes. And sometimes they just forget. So if you don't call and find out, how are you ever gonna know what's going on, right? Maybe it's not that they chose somebody else. Maybe it's just that they forgot to call you. Maybe they jotted down your number and they had the intentions to call you, but they forgot to call you because they were busy with something else. Call and find out. Call and say, hey, I'm the one that you spoke on the phone with on so-and-so day. You know, it's been a while since I heard from you. I just wanted to follow up and see if it's if it's maybe possible to meet up with you. And they will tell you, unfortunately, the position was filled, you know, but we're going to keep your resume just in case something opens up, or it'll be something completely different, something that you did not expect at all. Yeah, I wrote down your number and I planned to call you, but you know, I got so busy and I completely forgot. Would it be possible for you to come see me on so-and-so date? Follow up, right? If you do not call, if you don't follow up, there's no way for you to know. And I know some of us are shy. I'm not a shy person. Like I said, if I want a job and I'm hungry and I want to get that job, I freaking go for it. I go for it. And I keep calling and I keep calling and I keep calling until I hear that it's a no. If I don't hear that it's a no and you keep telling me, oh, next week or whatever, guess what? Next week, I'm going to be ringing your line, right? If you tell me you gave the job away and there are no openings, fine, I'll drop it. But if you keep telling me maybe best believe I'm going to be calling you. I'm going to be calling you every single week, reminding you to call me back. And that also shows determination. It shows that you are serious and that you really do want to get this job. So follow up.